Hello, welcome to the Fade Route NFL podcast. This one for week 16 of the NFL season. It's getting close to the end, folks. There's a lot to cover in terms of playoff implications. There's been a lot of teams eliminated. We'll talk about all of that. We got Thursday night football that we have to review now that it's Friday. We have two games on Saturday, which is interesting. And then we have the 1 p.m., 4 p.m. Sunday night football, Monday night football, Croutons, sink or swim. 3 for the money, random fact. But before I do anything else, I'm going to welcome in the mayor. Mayor, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. It's a Friday. The 49ers ended up in a better position than they were yesterday. That is probably one of the most incredible football games I have watched in not even just this season, but the past few years. A couple crazy things we can get into for sure. Right now, it's probably the most exciting football has been for me at its peak. We've got a bunch of teams fighting for division wins, fighting for the Covenant first round bye. The 49ers have a chance to never leave home after December 3rd. That's quite incredible in itself. Great Week 16 matchup starting again tomorrow on Saturday. We got lots and lots of football, like you said. I'm super stoked and ready to get into all of it.
Yeah, let's just start with the game last night. First of all, just to get this out of the way, Sean McVay, he probably should have just given a really pat answer. The question about the backwards pass and the fumble recovery from the 2-point conversion, which, just to briefly say this, I know other people probably had this take, but there was still like 6.5 minutes left in the game. So it wasn't like the last play of the regular game. So there's lots of things that could change over the next 6 minutes, but it is the correct call according to the rules. Some people say the whistle blew, so the play should have been stopped. But here's the thing. As an NFL coach, you can really only get in trouble after the game for criticizing the officials. And I'm not saying he really criticized the officials, but he kind of did. And I feel like coaches should just have a script. Like anything weird happens in the game, we're going to leave that for the NFL. Something like that.
I think personally, I happened to watch that because I was up and I wanted to see because I literally walked outside right after they missed that 2-point conversion and was on the porch and was sitting on the porch for a few minutes. And then I look back inside and I'm seeing play under review and the kickoff teams are on the field. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And by the time I got back inside, they didn't really explain it other than they gave him the 2 points. I didn't even see the replay. And the game had moved on, so I had to wait through the end of the game. But I think he, skirted right around criticizing the officials. He's like, I just want to have an explanation about what.
Sure.
So, okay, yeah, maybe you shouldn't say that, probably not, but then when he got blindsided by what Puka Nacua tweeted immediately after, he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about, and that's when he's like, okay, I gotta get out of Dodge because there was no good that can come out of the rest of this press conference. So he got out, and Puka probably got screamed at 30 seconds after that.
Yeah, that's a weird thing that happened. And probably you're right. That's probably more important to not answer about than this. And I'm not saying he did anything crazy. I'm just saying this happens with players and coaches when there's a controversial call. And I feel like some of them handle it really well. They know just, hey, that's the game. Leave that up to the refs. Leave that up to other people. But sometimes the coach, he was mad. Sean McVay was mad. Pretty much after that play, he was furious the rest of the game, and then still mad in the press conference. So maybe he was having a little bit of trouble controlling his emotions and everything else. And I can't blame him. It was a very strange play at the time. But when you look in the rule book, that is technically the rule. If it's a fumble and the player who would have fumbled in this case recovers the ball, then that is the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
All right, we can move on.
It's really hard to convince people to think the game is fixed that when stuff like this happens.
Sure. All right, so that was 38-37. Let's get to the random fact before we do other stuff. Here's one that I found quite interesting. So when you think of butterflies, what do you think of butterflies eating? What do they consume?
Probably just like the dander and the dust and the pollen in the air.
Yeah, and then also, yeah, the flowers, the nectar, stuff like that. They don't need a lot to eat because their bodies are very tiny and they don't live that long. But they also, in addition to all the things we mentioned, they also can live on human blood and human tears.
Wow. Do butterflies poop?
Yeah, because, well, I know for a fact that caterpillars do because we've had some when the kids were little. We had some caterpillars and they pooped all the time. Like you had to clean that thing out like 17 times a day.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I catch a caterpillar every summer or spring, whatever the cycle for the caterpillar was, and I never once cleaned out the classic terrarium that I put them in. But it eventually turned to a cocoon, and obviously right into a butterfly, and I let it go, and yeah.
Well, it's a fun thing to do when you're a kid, but then once you have to do the responsibility of cleaning it out, it's not as much fun anymore.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if my parents ever cleaned it out, or they just kind of let it go too.
I have noticed though, this you may not even remember this, but it does start to really stink after a while. At first it's like, yeah, what's the big deal? Then it really starts to smell. So that might be the point where parents step in and go, we got to get rid of this thing. All right, Saturday games,
I
5.
could have never guessed that we would have been talking about caterpillar poop on this podcast.
No, that was my full intention the entire time. I was going to spend about 40 minutes on that, but I guess we'll talk about football. If we have 2 Saturday games. Oh, let me go to the eliminations. So I marked down, I think there's 5 games with absolutely no playoff implications because those teams have been eliminated. The Giants, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Titans, the Vegas Raiders, Washington, Atlanta, the Jets, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Minnesota, Kansas City, and Miami. More than I actually thought are eliminated. I mean, of course, we're going into week 16, so it makes sense a lot of teams are out. But I just thought there weren't as many of those as there are. All right, so 5 games that don't matter at all, except if you're gambling, which we will be doing probably. That's what this show has turned into, mostly a gambling show. But let's talk about the game. So first game on Saturday night is at 5 p.m. Eastern, and it is Philadelphia -6.5 versus Washington. We know Washington is eliminated. Philadelphia is still fighting for a spot and possibly the division. Probably they have the division wrapped up since Dallas looks like they're done. But so the over-under is 44.5 for this game. Washington's back to Marcus Mariota. I don't know, but I would say Philadelphia is a lock for -6.5, but they just don't score very much. So Washington's probably going to cover this number. But what do you think about Philadelphia versus Washington?
Yeah, I won't be betting on the game, that's for certain. Philadelphia is going to come out and win this one. They might not win by a lot. They're probably not going to have the foot on the gas pedal the whole time. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But they certainly had the shutout last week, so maybe. The first, the number 1 seed in the NFC is almost out of reach for them.
Mhm.
Pretty much everybody has to lose everything that's in front of them the rest of the season, and they have to win out. So that's not a very likely scenario, and there's probably going to be a tie in there somewhere with San Francisco, Seattle in week 18, I would imagine, because they got to get to 12 wins in order for it to happen. So either way, this is going to eliminate Dallas as soon as Philadelphia wins or as soon as Dallas loses.
Right.
Philadelphia is going to get the win on Saturday and make Sunday mute for Dallas.
Yeah. They're playing the Chargers, so the Chargers are still in the hunt. So that game technically will still have playoff implications, even if Philly wins on Saturday. Saturday night, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. Green Bay is plus 1.5 at Chicago. Kind of surprised me. Green Bay beat Chicago, obviously, in Green Bay, but it was close. They almost pulled it off in the end. One errant throw by Caleb Williams was the difference in the game. The over-under is 46.5. Do you think Chicago should be favored in this game?
Yes.
Is it the Micah Parsons thing? Is that what's going on?
No, I think Chicago's at home, and they've proved that they're winning football games, so they should be favored.
Okay. I guess we don't get anything different than 1.5. By the end of the week, it's not one anymore, so we're not going to get anything.
Yeah. This is as strange as it comes. This could be for the divisions. It's going to be a great game. I don't think the NFL could have got luckier when they scheduled this game on Saturday 6 months ago. Just a random game they probably thought they were getting out of the way that wasn't going to have much of an implication, but somehow it turned out to be a big one. Here we go. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, the rating should be very high for this game, I would think, because Green Bay is such a public team. All right, 1 p.m., the Chargers +2 at Dallas. That kind of surprised me, but I guess I don't know if this line moves if Philly wins on Saturday night. The Chargers are not a team that either of us are interested in putting any wagers on. The over-under is 49.5. Especially if Philly loses, Dallas is really motivated to just take care of this game. I know the Chargers want to win also, so I'm not suggesting they're going to lay down or anything, but I don't think either of these teams probably going to lay down. I don't see it getting to 49.5, but I could see Dallas winning this game. What do you think?
I saw the Chargers -2.5 or +2.5 at Dallas, who is really not that great of a football team. Let's just be honest. They're 6-6. They're 500. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to write that down for Croutons. And then I'm like, nope. This is the Chargers. I mean, damn it. This is the Chargers. So I think they're going to win, but 2.5 is such a 2.5, or, getting points and winning is great, but I'm not going to let them get me again. I think the Chargers will win, but I can't bet on them. I can't do it. They've let me down too many times.
What was the quote? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. The point is, I can't get fooled again.
Yeah, but it's like 6 or 7 times. So fool me, you, George W.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the iconic moments in presidential history, to be honest. All right.
Well, until now.
Sure, we're going to wipe out the last 10 years, but yeah. Buffalo is -10 at Cleveland. Cleveland, nothing to play for, but I imagine they're still going to be playing full throttle, especially on defense. The over-under is just 41, so they're basically saying this is 21-10 or 21-20. I don't know, 31-10. What do you think? Is there any chance Cleveland wins this game? And do you think there's any hope for them to cover?
No, but I think we're going to see an NFL record broken in this football game, so it's going to be probably a moment to watch, even though it's the last one that'll matter most. But what will make it much more special for Myles Garrett is the fact that he did it in less than 16 games, which even beats the record broke by Michael Strahan, which we all remember that moment back in '96 when Favre took a dive. So really, it's beaten the great Reggie White's record, which is just an incredible, incredible feat. I think that's who had the record before Strahan, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's going to possibly beat the great Reggie White's record, which is just incredible. Josh Allen said he didn't want to be the wrong end of that highlight reel, but it's probably going to happen, Josh Allen. But you may be his first, but he won't be his last. So week 18, Myles Garrett might get another one, another 2, another 3. So that's going to be fun to watch.
I wonder what the line is. I'm sure there is one on how many sacks Myles Garrett will get in this game.
Oh, yeah, you can absolutely get that.
Yeah, I know. I just was wondering if it's like an odd number, like is it 0.5 or 1.5 or
I bet
I'm gonna
you.
look
Yeah.
I'm gonna look really quick. I think I can do this. Um, all right, so let's introduce the next game and then I'll look
Yeah.
for this. Cincinnati is -3.5 at Miami. Both of these teams eliminated, so this is our first game with absolutely no consequences. The over/under is 47.5. I was holding out hope that Miami was going to survive just a little bit longer, but they're not. And this might be the last one or two games that we see Burrow in for Cincinnati. I don't know if you have thoughts on that or this game. Any thoughts either way?
I think we have, Tua got benched, so they're, exploring next year's options. If I don't know what Tua's contract looks like. I don't think a team's going to take that on. So they may have to cut him and let somebody sign him for pennies on the dollar. He's going to probably be playing football somewhere else next year. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati needs to do right by him and let him go to whatever team wants to sign him. Maybe do a trade, give him a first round pick or something. Let that man try to play for a winning football team. We'll be keeping an eye on this football game, but nobody's going to be watching it outside of fans of Miami. And Cincinnati doesn't have any fans, and we can't identify them anyways with paper bags over their head. So either way, I pass, and you are making a striking resemblance to Sean McVay at the moment. With the way your hair is spiked. I just now saw it. I can't believe I haven't seen it before. Your hair is a little darker than McVay's, but you've got that look.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that's a compliment. I'll take it that way. I actually can't find it. Maybe you'd have better luck. I thought that there would be individual stats on Hard Rock, but I don't see anything for defense and sacks. Maybe there's another location we can
I'll
find it.
look while we're going. Let's see if I can find it.
Okay, the next game, which is also of no consequence for the playoffs, the Jets are +6 at New Orleans. Over under is 40.5. And frankly, I think New Orleans has earned this. They're not going to the playoffs, but they've become a respectable team. They're a team you can't count out, which at the beginning of the season, I thought we were going to be counting them out just about every week. 6 points is a lot for New Orleans, but this Jets team is bad and they're in New Orleans. So I look for New Orleans not only to win, but I think they're going to cover.
I don't know. I mean, New Orleans isn't great. Jets aren't great at all, but it's a no consequence game. Maybe guys are starting to. This is where, those second stringers or backups are starting to play for, a spot on the team for next year and getting those reps in and, trying to become better football players. So, maybe something happens. A fluke play can swing a game around very quickly. So 6 is too much for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets win.
The thing, too, starts to factor in is anybody going for that number one pick? Is anybody trying to move up in the draft? We like to think that wouldn't happen, but it does. And I kind of wonder if this particular draft class is not really worth tanking for.
I don't really know. I haven't really looked too much into the
We will get
into.
into the draft, so we don't have to do that now. I'm just curious if that's going to affect any of these games.
Yeah,
All right,
maybe.
let me know if you ever find that Myles Garrett
I'm
line.
still looking. I'm almost there.
Okay, good. KC is again another no playoff implications game. KC's -3 at Tennessee. The over/under is 37.5. Of course, Gardner Minshew starting for the Chiefs. This might be like a chance for Cam Ward to grab the spotlight for just a brief moment. Tennessee playing better, but I mean, obviously that's a low bar than they did at the beginning of the season. Maybe Cam Ward's starting to actually figure this out, and Tennessee would be my pick here, honestly, but I'm not betting this game.
Yeah, Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee would. This would be a pride game for them. There was no chance they're winning 2 weeks ago, but maybe. I'm not even going to watch.
All right. Yeah, I agree. It's not watchable. Minnesota -2.5 at the New York Giants. The over-under is 43.5. Minnesota and the New York Giants have been eliminated, so we have yet another game with no playoff consequences. But both of these young quarterbacks are playing for next year, so I'd expect full effort from both of these teams in every sense of the word on offense and defense and special teams. So I think this actually might be an entertaining game, even though I'm not going to intentionally put it on the TV.
Yeah, no, I can't find Miles Garrett either. Let's just move on.
Okay. I'm sure it's either 0.5 or 1.5.
Yeah, I would bet it's 1.5 because you're not gonna, and if it is 0.5, it would probably be a minus 115. They're not gonna give you anything on that.
Yeah, 0.5 might be like minus 160. All right. And then we got Tampa Bay -3 at Carolina. This one, a big game in the division. Both of these teams still alive for the playoff, both of them fighting for this division. The over-under is 45.5. Tampa Bay has shown me nothing. After having like a strong 5 or 6 weeks, they've been pretty terrible. And now they go against this Carolina team at home, who's been especially good at home, beat the Rams a couple weeks ago. I don't like Tampa Bay at all in this game. I'm not going to bet on the Panthers, but I don't like Tampa Bay's chances of taking the division at this point.
Yeah, well, Tampa Bay's got the better stroke of luck only because they've got the lead in the division with the game tied or with on the series standings. They play each other 2 games in the next 3 weeks. So that really means the Panthers have to win both of those games, or Tampa has to lose next week at Miami and they have to split. So Tampa's really in the position to win. All they got to do is, if they win against Miami, then they'd have to lose both against Carolina. I don't see a team playing 2 weeks apart, losing both games. Whoever wins this week will probably lose in 2 weeks. So we'll see.
I don't know if that win against Miami's automatic, though, either.
Yeah, Miami might be playing to spoil Tampa's chances. That's always a possibility. But they're not, not a division rival. They're not really a rival. They're more like your stepbrother or stepsister. You don't want to see them succeed, but when they do, it's like, okay, yeah, yeah,
You
good.
actually don't, you actually don't care at all, one way or the other, what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good description. All right, let's move to the 4 p.m. window. Atlanta at -2.5 at Arizona. The over/under is 48. Atlanta, another team I never want to pick either side of, so I'm staying away from this game. But -2.5 is a little bit tasty, and I'm considering one side here because I'm crazy.
Yeah, I think we just glitched for a minute. I got a phone call that came in, but either
No
way,
worries.
we're back. Yeah, this is a completely unwatchable game. Um, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, Atlanta's getting Drake London back. Yeah, but I don't know. With both these teams eliminated, I don't know who's trying in this game too much. Jacksonville +3 at Denver, which honestly, this is in the running for game of the week. I know we got Green Bay at Chicago. That was a great game last night on Thursday Night Football. But what do you think about Jacksonville at Denver being the game of the week?
Well, we'll just call it the game of the day because there's like 4 game of the weeks this week, and they're all on different days. So I mean, we'll just say it's the game of
Yeah.
Sunday.
Okay.
But yeah, Jacksonville, unlike Miami and Tampa, where they're stepbrothers, they're more like the ugly redheaded stepchild of the family. They don't want anything to do with Jacksonville. They wish they'd just move across the border into Georgia and let them be associated with those folks. This is going to be a great game. They were talking on the NFL Network that Denver's like the best team in the league, and it's almost a foregone conclusion, but that defense in Jacksonville that Cohen's put together is pretty good. And, Trevor Lawrence seems to be doing really well on offense. I think these teams are very similar in terms of how they play and what they play and what they do. So it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, it's the one, certainly in the 4 p.m. window that I'm looking forward to the most. And I think it's going to be a great game. I'd like to just stay away from touching it gambling wise because I just want to enjoy it. Pittsburgh is +7 at Detroit. The over-under's 52. I think Detroit has earned this. Pittsburgh is an up and down team. They're probably making the playoffs, but they probably get eliminated by Buffalo in the first game, the wild card game or whatever, which seems to happen every other year. But do you have any thoughts on Pittsburgh at Detroit?
Yeah, both teams need a win desperately. They need to win. They need to win. They need to win. It's Detroit's time to put it back together, get back to where they were years and years ago. A few weeks ago. I think Detroit will win.
Yeah, I think so too. Cannot. Did you know? I think you probably saw this, but for anybody out there that did not see this, and we're going back to the Thursday night game, going into that game, the Seattle Seahawks, after being down 16 points in the fourth quarter, were
Did you see the other part of that stat?
now they're 1-172. Is that the other
No.
part?
Did you see the other part of that stat?
No, I didn't.
The Rams were 243-1 when leading by 15 or more at that same exact moment in time.
Wow.
Their one loss coming to San Francisco.
Wow.
And
That's
now
insane.
they're 243-2 when leading by 15.
Still pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Even all those years where they were pretty good, when Russell Wilson was young, they still never overcome that lead in the fourth quarter. It took Sam Darnold to do it. All right, let's move on to the last game in the 4 p.m. window. Las Vegas is +14 at Houston. The over-under's 38 here. I see that low over-under and that huge point spread, and I don't know what to make of it, but it's very odd. Las Vegas getting 14 points, and then the over-under being just 38. They're just going this is 23-0 kind of game.
Well, they got shut out last week, right?
Yeah.
And isn't this their second? They got shut out twice this year. I'm going back and looking. I thought they got shut out once before this year as well. No, maybe not.
That wouldn't shock me because
Yeah,
it is
they
the Raiders.
lost to the Chiefs 31-0 as well.
Yeah.
So they've lost 31-0 twice this year. So yeah, 14.5 makes a lot of sense. Pete Carroll should just do the honorable thing, be like, I'm not going to make them fire me. I'm just going to quit because I would fire me if I were in charge. So therefore, I'm going to go work for the New York Jets next year. Either way, Houston's going to win. They're still, trying to get there. We'll see. I think they're the 7 seed, so they definitely need to win. So they're going to be motivated to play. And I think this team's better than the record indicates. So, we'll see what happens in the future.
So for Las Vegas, I just thought about this. I mean, Pete Carroll's not going to be there next season. What coach would want to take a chance on being the Las Vegas Raiders team? Nobody covets that job. I mean, look, a lot of assistants and a lot of college football coaches would love to get a chance in the NFL, but that is just a miserable franchise at this point. I mean, it can only go up, I suppose. Although I always say everything can always get worse. That's a counterbalance to it can only go up from here. So yeah, who's going to take that job? It's probably going to be some coordinator out. Jake Bailey, who got fired by them. He's already off the team. It would be a very Raiders thing to do, though.
Yeah, I mean, John Gruden. Oh wait, no, they fired him too. Wait,
Yeah,
Yeah, let's see who would take that job. Um,
I was
yeah,
thinking like Brian Flores, but I don't think he ever wants to be a head coach again. Where with the situation in Miami, he doesn't want to be asked to tank.
yeah, but they would just do it on purpose by not giving them any players.
There's no way to not tank.
It'd be like
As a,
the bad news Bears, or the
yeah,
just you have the worst team ever, and somehow you end up winning the winning everything.
sure, it could happen. I wonder what Las Vegas Super Bowl odds will be for next year. Probably get a pretty good number.
Probably 100,000 to 1 out the gate.
All right. So Houston's going to win that game. Sunday Night Football, New England plus 2.5 at Baltimore. The over-under is 48. This one also surprised me. I know New England's coming off that loss to Buffalo. Baltimore's coming off a good win, a couple good wins. But I think New England's going to right the ship here. I'm not putting croutons on it, but it feels like New England's going to beat Baltimore. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
New England to beat Baltimore. I guess this is like a showdown of, for Baltimore more than New England. Baltimore's only got one game back on Pittsburgh. So, I mean, a lot's going to happen. They're already going to know where they're at. Fate is going to be sealed by the time they kick off on the field. So it'll be, could be a game time thing. They can't spoil New England's chances at this point. That's not possible. So all they can try to do is do themselves good by playing football, but Baltimore isn't like they were last year. Their defense is very, very questionable at times, and I think New England is going to be able to get it done against them.
Yeah, so we agree on that one. But again, no croutons for me. Monday Night Football, your beloved San Francisco 49ers are -5 at Indianapolis. I guess Rivers is the quarterback again. Does Philip Rivers scare you on the road when you have to travel?
Well, Robert Saleh is a great defensive coach, and he can dial up a lot of things. The 49ers have the least amount of sacks among any team this season. They have less sacks than Myles Garrett has by himself, but they've lost Nick Bosa and they've lost a rookie defensive lineman. So there's reasons why they're not getting a lot of sacks, but they are getting wins. They've gotten to 10 wins playing. Brock Purdy's back. That offense is back. They're going to be able to keep Philip Rivers in the pocket because Philip's definitely not going to be running outside. So if they can stop Jonathan Taylor, I think they're going to have a chance of winning this game. 5.5 seems like a stretch for points, though.
Yeah, and Philip Rivers has been talked to death this week, but he actually didn't look quite as bad as everybody thought he was going to. But he's very slow. He's like Ben Roethlisberger last season type slow. So yeah, if Robert Saleh can think of anything to do to get into that backfield, I think it's gonna be a long day for Philip Rivers.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I don't know, I had a random thought. I saw a clip of the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick against Joe Flacco, which I'm sure you wanted to wipe from your memory because San Francisco pretty much had that one. But here's a thought I had. The 3 Super Bowls that the 49ers have been in, the quarterbacks are Colin Kaepernick, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy, the last pick in the draft. It's kind of like when you think about it, like Joe Montana and Steve Young were like, what, they have 4 or 5 Super Bowl appearances, and those were Hall of Fame quarterbacks. But the last 3, I don't know about Hall of Fame. I mean, Brock Purdy, it's early in his career, but
Yeah.
anyway, I thought that was an interesting kind of thought with that, going from the contrast of what they did in the 80s and 90s versus the last 10 years. All right, let's move on. We're done with the games. We have croutons this week. Last week, my croutons went well. I loved the Denver plus 1.5. They ended up pulling that off against Green Bay. And then I had Minnesota at Dallas 48.5 over. And that one hit pretty easily too. So I'm up another 100 croutons. I'm taking a little bit of a bigger gamble this week. It's because of that 100 croutons up. I'm going to spend 100 croutons on one of these picks. How many picks do you have this week?
I've got two. My croutons last week were terrible. I think you baited me into throwing out a spicy meatball, telling me how well I've been doing on my picks past couple of weeks. I blame you for this, but let's carry on.
Just to make this clear, we've been pretty good at, overall the last 5 weeks. We've got a very good record combined. So if you're wanting picks, we're giving out good ones mostly overall. We're giving out more winners than losers. So I'll just put it that way. I'm gonna go first. My first pick violates one of my rules. Actually, both of these do. I'm gonna take New Orleans -6 for 50 croutons at home against the New York Jets.
Okay, well, why does it violate one of your rules? Because both teams are terrible?
Well, no, I usually say take the good teams.
Yeah, okay. Well,
I wouldn't
the,
go
the
so far to
reason
say
we do
no.
so well, Sifters, is because we don't do things like this. Good luck to you on your New Orleans pick. My first pick, I'm going Philadelphia at Washington. They're giving up 6.5. I'll do it. Philadelphia is going to win big in this game. They're going to show out and show up, and they're going to win. $50.
I think that the big factor here is their defense is probably going to hold Washington to a pretty low amount of points. I would put my money on that. This Washington offense is falling apart, and their defense is bad too. So I like that bet. My second bet is Minnesota -2.5. Again, violating one of my rules. This is two teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs, playing in games that have no implications for the playoffs. But I'm taking Minnesota -2.5 at the New York Giants.
Minnesota -2.5 at the New York Giants. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good pick, but they are two bad teams. I would say you're probably going to win that bet if I had to bet.
But this one also, I forgot to say, this one's for 100 croutons, so it could make up for the New Orleans one possibly.
Okay, yeah, that you're going to be. I think you're going to be a little bit richer on that one. So my second bet is also for 100 croutons. Carolina's getting 3 points at home, I guess. Did I read that right?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Carolina's getting 3 points at home.
No, yeah, absolutely, that's right.
Yeah, so I'll take that, and I'll bet 100 on that. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's going to be 3 points, if Tampa's going to win, or what's going to happen, but it'll be a close game, and I'll take Carolina +3.
yeah, I like that one too. I just Mayfield seems like he's injured, and they don't have a better option than just throwing him out there and hoping that they can still take this division and somehow make some noise in the playoffs. All right, we got sink or swim. I have taken a lead here, and I hadn't used Buffalo yet. I know this is a little scary because Cleveland has a tendency to upset teams at home, or at least stay with teams better than predicted. But I think Buffalo can take this game. They're double-digit favorites, and once they get the Myles Garrett sack, it's probably they can all sit down and just play pretend the rest of the game. And so I like Buffalo this week.
Yeah, that's a good save for the end of the season. I looked, and I'm going with a couple theories that I've used throughout the years of sink or swim. I need a lot of luck to win at this point. You're going to need to be wrong twice, so I'm going to have to hope for big things, but your strategy seems to be paying off once again. I'm going with KC this week. I can't believe I haven't picked them yet. It's not really enticing without Patrick Mahomes under center or in the shotgun running all up and down teams, but Tennessee's still a really bad football team, and as long as their backup doesn't go in and throw 3 or 4 interceptions, Kansas City's going to be able to win this game.
Yeah, I think Andy Reid can get Gardner Minshew ready for the Titans.
Yeah. Was Gardner Minshew at one point playing for the Titans? Didn't he play behind? No, I can't remember the Dolphins' former quarterback that went to Tennessee.
Tannehill.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill. Didn't Minshew and Tannehill both play at Tennessee together?
That's very possible. I know Minshew played in
Yeah, and he was in New Orleans, and he was in Carolina and
yeah.
Jacksonville and all those teams that still can't get out of the basement.
Anyway, he has a lot of NFL experience, even though he doesn't seem to be able to stick around very long. All right. I think he also was in Indianapolis at one point
Yeah,
somewhere.
we're just naming teams at this point.
All right, he'll be in the Canadian Football League some point soon. But again, Andy Reid is still the coach there. They're playing for pride still. I don't think they want to lose the rest of the games this season just because Mahomes is out and they're out of the playoffs. So good luck to you on that. Honestly, I think you've got that one right. You're on the right side of that one. So we have this 3 for the money game that, if I'm not mistaken, you finally won, which is a big victory for the podcast because this is our first win on either side.
Yeah, the funny thing is I've won a few parlays where I've done 3 or 4 teams throughout the season. A few is the operative word there. But I went for a finally I'm gonna win one because I picked 3 almost shoe wins and they won. It was a whopping minus 277, so I won 64 cents. However, I am down. I guess the math on that, so I'm down 664 on the season, and you're down $8. So I mean, you're one parlay smash away from getting ahead. I went a little more conventional this week. I picked 3 teams that seemed like they're favored to win, but it gave me a plus 614. Denver, New England, and San Francisco. I picked all 3 for the wins, and we'll see how that one gets me.
Wait, would you say the odds are?
Plus 614.
Oh, nice. That's not bad. I went bigger though. I went Arizona, which is plus 130 to beat Atlanta. Arizona's at home, and this Atlanta team, frankly, not very consistent to say the least. New England, I have them pulling off the win at Baltimore. They're plus 130 as well, and then Carolina pulling off the win at home against Tampa Bay. They are plus 130 also. So it adds up to plus 1117.
Plus 1100, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Who's the one that's not favored in that scenario?
They're all underdogs.
Oh, they're all underdogs. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, Carolina and Arizona being underdogs at home, I kind of like that. And I do think New England's going to pull off the win in Baltimore. So I think this isn't that bad. I mean, it's for the amount of money I can win here, I think that's a pretty good 3.
Yeah, I may have to take that one for myself.
Hey, everybody should just take all of these because obviously we're doing really well at this game. All right, I think you promised us a rant, but I'm not sure if we still have that on the table or not.
Well, I kind of already ranted, so I mean,
Oh,
we're already there. I've intermingled it with all of our shenanigans that happen in between caterpillar farts and the 49ers having a chance to not leave home again.
yeah. Actually, explain that. You didn't flesh that out. You did to me and the message, but you didn't actually explain it to the audience.
So the 49ers obviously can win the 1 seed if they win their last 3 football games at this point. They have Indy, Chicago, and Seattle ahead of them. So it's not going to be an easy task for them to do. But that would give them the 1 seed, which would let them play at home. Weeks 17 and 18, they play at home. The Super Bowl is in Santa Clara, California. So in theory, the 49ers could possibly not leave home and win the Super Bowl after December 24th, when they'll probably return home from Monday Night Football.
Wow, so they're back on the 24th, you think?
Well, the game's on the 22nd, so so they'll be home the night of the 22nd. So I guess home by the 23rd. So they're home for Christmas and possibly never have to leave again.
So doing the math on that, that's at least what, 7 weeks?
Yeah. And I mean, even theoretically, even if if the Rams still ended up winning the 1 seed, going down to LA to have another home game is not too big a deal for the fans, and that would be a big culture shock to the Rams because that would probably be a stadium full of red as well.
I would give them pretty good chance to beat the Seahawks if that was for the 1 seed at the end of the season there. What do you think?
Yeah, they already beat them once this season in Seattle, so the crowd wasn't a factor. I think Seattle's defense has gotten better since then, where the 49ers defense has adjusted to injuries, but their offense has gotten a lot better since they played the last time. So it'd be a great game. And obviously, yeah, I think 49ers would win that one.
And they might have to see the Seahawks again in the playoffs because they are in the playoffs. So that's an interesting dynamic. You don't really want to play a team 3 times, no matter who you are.
Yeah,
That's what
that
they say.
7 seeds looking like it would be, either Green Bay or, Seattle / Rams would be the 6, 7 seed left. And one of those teams is going to win the first round if they're having to play, Carolina or Tampa Bay. They're going to blow through them. So yeah, one of those teams is going to be playing each other again in the playoffs for certain.
And I'm excited about it. Although, I get a little depressed when it starts to dwindle down to the end of the season like this. But let's keep some momentum going. If you don't have anything else, I'm just gonna say thank you for listening. Thank you to the mayor for all of his insightful information. We will talk to you next week after week 16 is fully played out. So have a good weekend. We will see you.